This is Me Before Mom, the podcast that helps moms stay connected to themselves while doing the most important job they'll ever have. And I'm your host, Bert Anderson. Hey, this is Bert Anderson, and you're listening to Me Before Mom. Before I get started today, I have to give a shout out to my friend Maria, who is watching my littlest. I've talked on this podcast before about helping people and being willing to ask for help, not health. You should also ask for health. But Maria is one of those people, and she is currently at my house with her little guy and my youngest. So thanks, Maria. Today, I have some stories to tell you, and it all has to do with what people like to call Sanctimommies. So a Sanctimommy, in my opinion, you can Google it if you want to, but a Sanctimommy is somebody who holds on to a belief, a parenting belief, and they hold on to it so tightly that they believe that it makes them better than all the other parents that are around them. So that belief may be vaccinating your child, or breastfeeding your child, or using cloth diapers, or circumcision. Yes, these are all things that for some reason we feel we have the right to judge each other on based on our decisions, which is really, we'll get into it. You'll see. So in a previous life, not too long ago, I was the social media manager for a all-natural children's brand. Specifically at the time, they were only doing, they did other things, but it was primarily a cloth diaper brand. So a few things that you should understand about cloth diapers is that in order for them to work, you need the inner part of the diaper to absorb liquids. The outer part of the diaper is either a cover or it's sewn together and it's a waterproof cover. I was managing this group of about, I think at that point in time, we had like 3,000 members in this Facebook group. And this woman posted on the wall because her child was circumcised and they wanted to use cloth diapers on the circumcision, or, even though their child was circumcised. The problem with that is that, when a baby is circumcised, you need to use a waterproofing ointment like Vaseline to keep the area clean. So she was asking, how can I use Vaseline and my cloth diapers on my child who is circumcised? Side note, if you're ever wondering, you just use a liner because it protects the inner part of the diaper. So that's what you would do. But I digress. So she asked this question. I saw it pop up and I was like, okay, that's a good question. But I made a mental note of like, oh, she's mentioning circumcision. This is going to get heated. And sure enough, it got really heated super fast. The thing that always amazed me when I was doing this kind of admin job is how quickly things would escalate. And I would keep an eye on a post in the group for about like an hour or so. I would step away to do my normal life, like feed my child lunch. I would either come back on my own to check on the group and see what was going on and make sure people weren't being too disrespectful. Or I would get a call from my boss or somebody else, and they would be like, Bert, what is going on? You need to do something to shut this down. So I stepped away from this circumcision post for a little bit. And by the time I got back, which was, I think it was like an hour, there were like 200 some comments. It was absolutely, and they crucified this woman like you would not believe. And it was so sad because there were so many things that were said. And then, the anti-circumcision women and parents, because there were some men that were part of the group and participating, they went after this woman's family's livelihood. And they posted on this family's business page. They figured out that this person, that they had a business, a small business, and they posted on the business's wall about how, this family promotes, mutilating babies and all just this terrific things. And I couldn't help but, sitting back and watching and trying to manage the chaos and trying to get these people who were very fired up about something that they, passionately believe in, to understand to just take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that somebody's not going to parent the same way you do. And that is okay. Because it is not your job to make every single person in the world not circumcise their child if that's what you believe in. And I think that there are certain things in parenting, certain decisions that we need to own and claim and just stand behind in our decisions. So some of those things are, I've seen people get into really heated arguments over breastfeeding, whether you're breastfeeding or you're formula feeding. And there's a big campaign kind of out there that a lot of breastfeeding moms have started, and they've kind of partnered with, formula feeding parents. And the hashtag is fed is best. And I think we can all agree that fed is best. It doesn't matter how you feed your child. If you can breastfeed, great. If you use formula, awesome. If you have to do both, great. I had to feed my son. I breastfed my son and I supplemented with formula because the boy as an infant took a 5-ounce bottle at like a week old, which is insane. And as a new mom, it's really hard. And I'm even doing it right now. I'm justifying why I did that. That's ridiculous. And that's what I want us to get away from. Like, I shouldn't have to justify to you why I decided to give my son formula. I decided to give my son formula. I decided to supplement formula. And you know what? I hate pumping. And so when I had to be away from him, it was really amazing and awesome to be able to give him a bottle of formula and not have to pump. And that's okay. And I don't know why I just did it right here talking to you guys. I did the thing that I was trying to say, don't do this. But it's just kind of ingrained in in the way we talk about ourselves and our society. And, I think we're so ready to be told that what we're doing is wrong and offensive that we are just on the defense all the time. And you don't have to be on the defense with how you parent. I mean, I think we can all agree that there are things that you shouldn't do with your child that has to do with safety, and child appropriateness. And if you choose to vaccinate your child or, not vaccinate your child, that is your choice as a parent. It's your choice. And I'm not going to judge you, and you shouldn't judge me either for my choices as a parent. I think too, even when we talk about labor and delivery, whenever I talk, I feel like, and my sister's one of these people because she gave birth naturally without any epidural or anything. And I look at her kind of like she's this goddess, like, oh, she had a natural labor. And then I think about myself and I'm like, I had epidurals. And there's not that there's this shame, but oh, I kind of wussed out. I didn't wuss out. I made a conscious decision. I remember when I was in labor with my third, kind of going back and forth. Do I want to get an epidural? Do I want to be natural? And my husband was like, why are you going to try to do a natural labor when you haven't done it in the past? Is it just because you want to be better than your sister? And I was like, yes, that is why I want to have a natural labor. I would like to compete with my sister and be better. And he's like, well, then is that really the right decision to do it? And I could have had a natural labor. Having my third labor and delivery was really, really fast. And in all honesty, I probably could have withstood the pain because I think by the time I got my epidural, I was pretty far along. But I chose not to, and that's okay. And why am I justifying it? And rationalizing with you. I chose to have an epidural. And it was a glorious thing. And I had very pleasant memories of every birth that I had, probably because I had that epidural. I didn't really want to get up and walk around That's why some people say they want to be able to walk around and work through the pain. And if there's something that's going to like block that pain, like by all means, just give it to me. I don't like to be in pain. So I'm going to take that route. But the same thing happens with, women who have C-sections. I was talking with my friend Matt about this, and his wife had a VBAC. And it's really interesting because people always, when they, he's a dad blogger. And so, she will talk every once in a while, they'll talk about their birth story. And she's very selective in it because she doesn't want for other women who have not decided to have a VBAC to feel bad, because it is their choice. And for some people, no matter what happens, what's important is the fact that the baby is safe. And we shouldn't have to ask a mom who has had a C-section when she says like, oh, my C-section is scheduled for X, Y, and Z. We shouldn't be like, oh, well, are you going to do a VBAC? And then try to talk to them about why it's okay to do a VBAC and how they can do it. Like, we shouldn't be soliciting our own opinions and giving advice when it's not even been asked for. And we should be able to stand on our own 2 feet and say, no, thanks. I'm not going to have a VBAC. I'm just going to do a C-section, please. Thank you. And that's not a bad thing. I could tell you so many stories from my time as a Facebook group admin. Just the things that we get really, parents just get, just so wrapped up in, and I don't know why. I don't know why we do it. Another thing that's really popular in the natural parenting world are exclusives. So exclusives have to do with a baby product, and it's usually a particular limited design that is made specifically for the brand. So there's a very popular baby carrier. I don't think that they're doing exclusives anymore, but they used to do these limited run exclusives. And this, they usually have some type of a lottery for like a buying system, because parents get all crazy. Like, I have to have this baby carrier. It's a baby carrier. Can I say that again? It's a baby carrier. Baby carrier. You're going to use it for 2 years of your kid's life. And hopefully you'll have more children so you can use it again. Anyway, this particular retailer had this exclusive, and a parent, and actually I think it was a dad, his wife wasn't able to actually score the baby carrier and buy it. He was like sending her death threats, telling her he knows where she lives and he's looked into her house. And it's like, of all the things that we're doing, has to do with our kids. And these are extreme examples, but come on, it's a baby carrier. Why are we getting all wrought up over something that is worn maybe for 2 years? And I don't know. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But there's so many things I think that we just get all bent out of shape over. Free range parenting. That's another one. My kids, I think we don't even live a mile away from school. And my children walk to and from school. A lot of kids walk to and from school. And I walk to and from school too, but there are some states you can't even do that. That's ridiculous. My son goes down to the park by himself and he meets his friends in the summer all the time. And in some states, Child Protective Services would be calling. They'd be knocking on my door telling me I was an unfit parent. And the only reason why that would happen is if another parent called on me. I think as long as, if you're listening to this, I believe that you are like me, and that you, in your innermost beings, right from wrong. You know what matters and what doesn't matter. And there are some issues in parenting. It just does not matter what you believe, because it's your choice with your own family. It's not up to me to tell you whether or not you should buy baby food or make your own baby food. And it's not up to me to tell you that you should, that if you're not breastfeeding your baby, you clearly have just the worst intentions for your child. Because if you love your child enough, you would breastfeed. And how do I even know? I mean, maybe you tried to breastfeed. And by the way, I don't believe that. I think at the core of this, there's something within us where we hang on to these ideals and these parenting choices, and we feel so strongly about them within our innermost being. But it's usually because there's some type of a weakness or area where we feel guilty and we feel like we're lacking. I cloth diapered all 3 of my kids. I also used disposable on my kids. I cannot tell you the number of people that told me when I was cloth diapering my children how disgusted they were by me. And it was so disgusting. And how could I allow my child to sit in their own feces? Does it really matter? It doesn't concern you. And then they would say to me, they would justify why they use disposables without me even saying, well, I can't believe you don't use cloth diapers. I think we need to let go of our own guilt and let go of, we're not trying to parent the world, we're trying to parent our child. That's what we're doing. We're trying to parent our own kid. And as long as you're not raising a hellion or a bully, you stay in your lane and I'll stay in mine. And if I ask you for advice, I'll ask you for advice. If I see that you're parenting a certain way, I'll ask you how you're doing it if I have questions. And I want to be, parents like that. Otherwise, I don't need your opinion on how my child behaves or how I behave or how I discipline my kid, especially in public settings. Don't get me started on parenting and disciplining your kid in a public setting. There is nothing more mortifying than your kid having a temper tantrum because you won't buy the alphabet cereal in Target. That happened to me. I mean, you would have thought that I was beating my 2 children because I said no. And thank goodness I was surrounded by older people. And you can always tell when you're by somebody like a senior citizen who has had kids and is a grandparent, because they usually smile at you and will offer a word of encouragement like, I've been there, good job. I actually had this lovely man say that to me, like, you're doing a good job. And for me, being a parent with temper tantrum throwing kids in a public setting, I mean, that is like the absolute worst place to be. Am I right? It is the absolute worst place to be. Because it's what you really want to say in the aisle of Target is, oh my gosh, just shut up. The answer is no, and we will be leaving in 2 seconds if you don't knock it off. And instead I'm saying, okay, well, mommy said no. Mom said no. I said no. And really, I'm just saying, I said no. No. And so what I want for all of us to do, myself included, is let's get off of our judgy parenting seats. Whatever parenting issue you feel extremely, passionate about. Maybe it's homeschooling. That's another kind of contentious, being very divisive parenting decision. I thought about homeschooling my oldest I had planned to homeschool him actually until he was about 2.5 years old. And I realized that we were so similar that we would get no learning done and we would fight the whole time. So I was like, no, I'm not going to. And I think it takes a certain type of parent, mother, to homeschool their child and do it well. And I would not be one of those women. I'm not one of those women. I just am not. And I'm not going to make an excuse about it. I just don't want to homeschool my child, and that's okay. I'm not going to tell you my rationality of why I'm not going to homeschool my children, but I'm not going to homeschool my children. So stand firm in what you believe in and your parenting decisions, and then offer kindness and non-judgment onto other parents when you find out that they have made a decision for their family that you don't agree with, like circumcision. That poor woman who was just asking for help in this group She can't go back in time and uncircumcise her child again. She's already circumcised him. So really, at the end of the day, does it make any sense to beat her up over it? No, because she can't go back in time and reattach the foreskin. So I want us to be kind to one another and be kind to yourself and stand in the decisions that you have made for your family, and don't make an excuse or a rationale as to why you made that decision, because you don't have to explain it to anybody because you are the parent. But above all this, be kind to yourself. Always be kind. That's all we have. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to connect with me on bertmanderson.com, and please visit our website, matriarchdm.com, for all of the show notes and to hear other awesome podcasts.